Hi everyone, welcome to today's GCSE revision video. There's 97 days to go into your GCSE Maths exam, and today we're going to focus on the topics of the area of a circle and the area of a sector. If you've got the revision cards, the higher revision cards, card 5 is the card on the area of a circle, and card 6 is the revision card on the area of a sector. Those might be useful for you as well. But in today's video, we're going to go through how to find the area of a circle, we're going to go through how to find the area of a sector. I'm going to go through some examples of both of them, and you're going to have some questions to try yourself. So hopefully you'll find that useful. And also remember, at the end of the video, I'll put a link to the practice questions in the description below. So let's get started.
So the area of a circle is found by pi r squared. So we square the radius and multiply by pi. Remember our order of operations, we have to square the radius first of all, and then multiply by pi. So here we've got a circle, and the radius of the circle, the distance from the center to the edge of the circle, is 9 centimeters. And we want to find the area of this circle. If you want to try that now yourself, feel free to pause the video and to work out the area of that circle. And then in a second, I'll show you how it's done. Okay, so if we wanted to work out the area of this circle, we would do the area is equal to pi multiplied by the radius squared. That's pi multiplied by, the radius is 9, so pi times 9 squared. And then it's a calculator question, so we're going to, on our calculator, press pi, so we're going to do shift and then get pi. And then we'll type in times 9 squared. And then whenever you get press equals, you get, and that's equal to 81 pi. And depending on the question, you might want to actually use the 81 pi, but quite often you're asked to give your answer to 1 or 2 decimal places. So then you're going to change that into a decimal. And whenever you change it into decimal, you get an answer of 254.469 and so on centimeters squared. And let's round that to 2 decimal places. So our answer to 2 decimal places would be 254.4, and then we'll get 69, so let's round up to 7 centimeters squared to 2 decimal places, and that's it. So to find the area of a circle, we use the formula pi r squared. So we do pi times the radius squared. So we do pi times 9 squared. 9 squared is 81, so it's pi times 81, and that's 81 pi, or as a decimal, that would be 254.47 centimeters squared to 2 decimal places, and that's it. Now this time it's a non-calculator question, and we're going to find the area of this circle, and we're going to give our answer in terms of pi. Sometimes you're asked to find the area of a circle and to give your answer in terms of pi. If you want to give this a try yourself now already, feel free to pause the video, and then I'm going to show you how to do it in a second. So it's a non-calculator question, so we're going to use the area is equal to pi r squared. So that's pi times the radius. Now this circle, we've got the diameter the whole way across the circle. So the radius of the circle from the center to the edge would be 7 centimeters. So the radius is 7, so we're going to do pi times 7 squared. Then, remember it's a non-calculator question, so we're going to do pi times, now 7 squared, 7 times 7 is equal to 49. So we've got pi times 49, and whenever we multiply these, we just put them together and put the number, the 49 in front of the pi. So the answer would be 49 pi, and then our unit, centimeters squared. And that's it. So that's how you would do a non-calculator question. You would just do it in terms of pi like so. And also, if you've got the diameter, make sure you half it to get the radius. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to find the area of a semicircle. So if we had a semicircle such as this and we wanted to find the area of a semicircle, what we would do is we'd find the area of the whole circle and then just divide it by 2. So feel free to give this question a go now if you wanted to. Okay, so we would imagine a whole circle. We would do the area is equal to pi r squared for the whole circle. And the radius of the whole circle from the center to the edge is 6 centimeters. So we would do pi multiplied by 6 squared. So whenever we do pi times 6 squared, and this is a calculator question, so we're going to do pi times 6 squared, and that's equal to 36 pi, or 113.097335 and so on centimeters squared. So that's the area of the whole circle, but we want to find the area of the semicircle, just this shaded part, so we're going to divide by 2. So we're going to take the 36 pi, and you could just write 36 pi here, and then divide it by 2, and see what you get, which is 18 pi. Or you could write down the 113.097 and so on and divide that by 2. And if you are using this, make sure you just keep it on your calculator display and press divided by 2, and you get that's equal to 18 pi. So both of them are equal to 18 pi, or as a decimal number, 56.548 and so on centimeters squared. So it'd be equal to 18 pi or 56.548 and so on centimeters squared. Now if the question said to give your answer perhaps to 2 decimal places, then you would give it as 56.55 centimeters squared. And depending on what you're asked in the question, might be whether you give it in terms of pi or give it as a decimal number and so on. Okay, so that's how to find the area of a semicircle. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. So our next question, we've looked at how to find the area of a semicircle. Now we're going to find the area of a quarter circle. So in this question, it's a calculator question, and I want to find the area of this quarter circle to 2 decimal places. So if you want to have a go at this, feel free to press pause and have a go at this question now yourself, and then in a second I'll go through it. Okay, so here's a quarter circle. So if you want to find the area of a quarter circle, we imagine the whole circle, this whole circle, and then you get the area of the whole circle, and then just divide it by 4. Now this is a calculator question, and in this question I'm going to give our answer to 2 decimal places. So let's do this question. We're going to find our answer and give our answer to 2 decimal places. So the area of a circle, the whole circle, would be pi r squared, so pi r squared. So it'll be pi multiplied by the radius, which is 18 squared. So let's do pi multiplied by 18 squared on our calculator, and that's equal to 324 pi, or as a decimal number 1017.87602 and so on centimeters squared. Then that's the area of the whole circle. We want the area of the quarter circle, so we're just going to divide by 4. So you could either take your 324 pi or the 1017.87 and so on, and then just do divided by 4, and that's going to give you an answer of 81 pi, or remember I wanted to 2 decimal places, that'll be 254.469 and so on centimeters squared. And I want to give the answer to 2 decimal places, so it's going to be 254 point, and then we've got 469, so it's going to be 0.47 centimeters squared to 2 decimal places, and that's it. Okay, so far in this video, we've looked at how to find the area of a circle, how to find the area of a semicircle and a quarter circle. Now, we've looked at some easy sectors, that's semicircle and quarter circle. Now let's have a look at some sectors where the angles aren't necessarily as nice. So the area of a sector is found by β over 360 multiplied by pi r squared. In other words, the fraction of the circle, so β represents this angle, so in this case it'd be 109, so 109 out of 360. In other words, the fraction of the circle, multiplied by pi r squared, that's the area of the circle. So in other words, you're doing the fraction of the area. So you're going to do 109 360ths of the area of the whole circle. And that's the formula, β over 360 multiplied by pi r squared. Okay, so here's the sector. If you want to have a go at this question now, feel free to have a go at it now yourself. I've also got another one to do in a second, so if you wanted to watch this one and then try the next one, it's up to you. Okay, so if you want to try it yourself, press pause now, and then in a second I'll go through it. Okay, so here's our sector. The area of the sector is going to be equal to β, which is 109, over 360, then multiplied by pi and multiplied by the radius. Now the radius of the whole circle, if you had the whole circle, this whole circle, the radius of the whole circle would be 30 centimeters. So multiplied by 30 squared. So we're going to do β over 360 multiplied by pi multiplied by 30 squared. And then it's a calculator question, so we can just type this in. If it's a non-calculator question, you might find that the fraction, this fraction part simplifies down perhaps, and then you can work out the fraction of whatever you get when you square the radius. So if it's a non-calculator question, it should hopefully be quite nice in terms of the numbers. So multiplied by pi multiplied by 30 squared. And whenever I do that, I get an answer of 856.084 centimeters squared to 3 decimal places, and that's it. So that's the area of that sector. So the area of the sector is found by β over 360 multiplied by pi multiplied by the radius squared, or the fraction of the whole circle multiplied by the area of the circle. Okay, let's have a look at another question. Okay, so this time what we've got is we've got a sector. Now I haven't actually given you the angle inside of the sector. I've given you this angle here is 100 degrees and the radius of the sector is 6 centimeters. I want you to try this one now yourself. Obviously remember what the formula of the area of the sector is, and feel free to press pause now and to try this question. Okay, so we've got the sector and we want to find the area of this sector. So what we need to do to begin with is to find the size of this angle. Now here's 2 angles at a point, so they'll add together to be 360 degrees. So if this one's 100, this one must be 260 degrees inside the circle there, inside that sector there. So we've now got our sector, and we can now use the formula, which is β, which is 260 over 360, multiplied by pi, multiplied by the radius, and the radius of the sector is 6, so 6 squared. And now we just need to work this out. Now in this question, I didn't actually say whether it was calculator or non-calculator. Actually, this one could actually be either. If I just typed it into my calculator, I get that's equal to 26 pi, or that's equal to 81.681 centimeters squared to 3 decimal places. So if you'd done it as a calculator question, you would just work that out, typing it into your calculator. If this was a non-calculator question, just to show you, what you would do is you'd cancel it down if you could. So we would have, and we cancel down our fraction, we would have 26 over 36 multiplied by pi multiplied by, and 6 squared is 36. And now we just need to work out what 26 36 or 36 would be. So we divide by the bottom, that's 1, and times by the top is 26. That would just be 26 pi centimeters squared. So if you asked it as a non-calculator question, you just simplify the fraction if you can, and then work out the fraction of whatever the radius squared is, and then just put it in front of the pi, and then that would be your answer. But in this question I didn't specify, so if you'd done it on a calculator, which I probably would have done, you would have got the answer of 81.681 centimeters squared to 3 decimal places. Okay, and let's have a look at one last question. Now this time what I've done is I've got a sector and I've given you the area, and we need to work out the size of this angle here, x. So in this question, what we're going to do is we're going to use the area of a sector formula and we're going to work out the size of this angle. And we're going to work it out to so many decimal places. I'm actually going to look at the answer and see what it is and then round it to a suitable amount of decimal places. This is a calculator question. And if you want to try it yourself, and if you feel pretty confident with your area of a sector, have a go at this question out yourself. Otherwise, feel free to watch me do it and then there'll be more for you to try in the practice questions. So if you want to try it now yourself, feel free to press pause and then press play in a second. Okay, so the area of a sector is β over 360 multiplied by pi r squared, and that gives you the area of a sector. Now in this case, we're told the area is 11 centimeters, so that's equal to 11. So let's substitute in the values we know. So we've got our β is our x, so x over 360, multiplied by pi, multiplied by the radius, and the radius of the whole circle would be 4.8, so 4.8 squared. So we've got β is x, we've got the radius is 4.8, so pi r squared, pi times 4.8 squared, and that's equal to 11. And now we just need to work this out and work out what x is. So this is like an equation. I'm going to work out the 4.8 squared to begin with, so that's going to be x over 360 multiplied by pi multiplied by, and what's 4.8 squared? So 4.8 squared is 23.04, and that's equal to 11. Now we just need to find out what x is. So we want to get rid of the multiply by 23.04. We want to get rid of the pi, so we're going to divide both sides of the equation by 23.04. We're then going to divide both sides of the equation by pi, and then finally we'll end up with x over 360 equal to something, and then you multiply both sides by 360 to find out what x is. So let's do that. So dividing both sides of the equation, to divide by 23.04 and divide by 23.04. On the left hand side, you'd just be left with x over 360 multiplied by pi, because we're dividing by it to get rid of the multiply by it on that side. And then on the right hand side, we've got 11 divided by 23.04 is equal to 0.47743, and so on. Now I'm going to keep that on my calculator display, because now what I want to do is I want to get rid of this pi, so I'm going to divide by pi and divide by pi. So I'm just going to press my calculator, divide by pi, and that would give me that on the left hand side here we'll just be left with x over 360. We've divided by pi to get rid of the times by pi, and on the right hand side we'll be left with 0.15197, and so on. And then finally, we'll want to find out what x is, so we're now going to multiply by 360 and multiply by 360. And then on the left-hand side, we'll just be left with x. And on the right-hand side, if we multiply by 360, we get that's equal to 54.7095, and so on degrees. And if you've done this question yourself and you got that, well done, that's fantastic work. And then x will be equal to, if we round that to 2 decimal places, 54.71 degrees. So that means that the x here, this angle, is equal to 54.71 degrees to 2 decimal places. And that's it.
And that's it. So I hope you found this video useful. In the description below, I've put a link to the practice questions. So it's very important that you try those to do the questions on finding the area of a circle, pi r squared, particularly those questions that are in context, and likewise the area of a sector, and that's in the description below as well. So I hope you found this video useful. It's 97 days to go into your GCSE exams. So tomorrow we'll do the video for 96 days, and remember, 3 o'clock on YouTube. Cheers, bye.